Growing a company is never easy, especially during times of crisis. Unfortunately, crises are inevitable. Every company will face them, whether that's regionally, globally, or company-wide. They will impact your customers. But they do present opportunities for businesses to serve their customers if they're prepared to do the right thing, even when that is hard to do. So, we asked our audience, what is the hardest thing that they've done in recent times, if it meant doing the right thing? As it turns out, prioritizing the customer experience is particularly crucial during times of crisis. So, how can your business do it? I asked an expert to find out. Thank you, Ellie, for giving us your time to talk about this. I suppose we could start with a brief intro about yourself and your role here at HubSpot.
My name is Ellie Flanagan, and I head up the corporate communications function at HubSpot. That includes our crisis communications program and then other projects to protect our brand reputation.
So, what is crisis communication, and why does it matter to businesses?
Crisis communication addresses issues that could impact your brand. That could be something like a product outage, an issue with your company culture, litigation, anything that could negatively impact the world's view of your company. The main part of crisis communication is making sure that you have a clear plan in place for how you're going to address those issues and communicate about them to the public. So that includes how you're going to message it to customers, to partners, even internally to your employees. This is really important to make sure that you, of course, know how to address these situations, but also that you have a standard for how you're communicating when you have a crisis that happens.
Could you talk a little bit about do the right thing even though it's hard and its relevance during these times?
Your instinct in crisis situations is going to be to try to respond as quickly as possible and also mitigate as much risk as you can for your company. Obviously, as a brand reputation professional, I totally understand that instinct. You definitely want to make sure that you're protecting your brand, but you shouldn't do that if it's going to come at the sacrifice of being honest and transparent with your customers. Doing the right thing even when it's hard means owning up to your mistakes and just saying sorry. Your customers are really going to appreciate that honesty.
So why is it important to prioritize the customer experience during a time of crisis?
During a crisis situation, all of the communication that you're putting out should be genuine and empathetic. You really can't do that unless you really are able to put yourself in the shoes of the customer and really understand their issues. A good way to evaluate your communication during a crisis is to think about how you would perceive those communications if you were on the receiving end of them. Generally, that's a pretty good barometer considering the fact that customers are people too.
How can companies actually achieve this?
A great way to do this is appointing DRIs on all of those important teams. So teams like your PR team, social media, customer marketing, customer support and service, even your sales folks. Making sure that they know what the plan is will make it a lot easier to activate the plan. It also really helps to make sure that you're fostering a customer first culture every day within your company. So making sure that all of those frontline teams are really empowered to make decisions that have the customer's best interests in mind.
I see. Why is cross-functional communication so important right now?
Things happen really fast in times of crisis. You have your social media team who's responding to tweets. You have folks who are calling into your support line, sales reps who are answering emails from clients. And all of that is happening while there are other teams working behind the scenes to make sure that the incident is resolved quickly. In those types of situations, it's incredibly important that all of those different customer-facing teams are delivering one unified message to every audience that they're interacting with. Great ways to do this are using a Google Doc to come up with some approved messaging and sound bites that they can use. Just any way that you can make sure that that cross-team collaboration is happening is going to be great for the end customer.
Lastly, what does a good crisis communication plan look like?
In crisis communications, failing to plan is planning to fail. At a minimum, a good crisis communications plan should outline the key DRIs. It should have some clear escalation frameworks and workflows for who is notified when. It should have instructions for how often and where you're going to be communicating updates. There should be some guidance on what your company voice is and making sure that you have clear guidelines on what your core brand values are and how you're going to communicate those. And lastly, it should outline a process for how you're going to look back on crises after they happen to make sure that you're iterating and learning from each crisis. If you do that, then you'll be ready to jump in and address any issues as soon as they arise.